Well, the Cardinals have the worst offense in the National League right now. Just dropped 2 of 3 to the worst team in all of baseball. Things couldn't look any bleaker for the team right now. Andrew and I are going to talk about what on earth they can do about this offense and this team on this episode of Dealing the Cards. Dude, what do you I don't know what to say. I legitimately do not know what to say about this team anymore. We can get into the takes and all of it, but let's just start off by saying, like, I am beyond frustrated. I know everyone's frustrated. Like, how can you not watch this team and wanna bang your head against the wall, watch paint dry, turn off like, honestly, Comcast just got rid of Bally Sports, and, like, maybe that's good for my mental health. Like, and I'm watching it another way, but, like, maybe that's best for everyone involved that the Cardinals, you can't watch them. Like, what I don't know what to do with this team. And I'll let you cook in a second here, Andrew, but the fact that the thing that's frustrating the most to me is that the pitching's not that bad. It's fine. It's playable. The defense is playable. Like, the bullpen, obviously, the last few games gave up some runs, but, like, when you go to those big arms, they can shut down the game. Uh, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, Sonny Gray have all been good. Michaelis, meh. Matz has been bad, obviously. Like, the defense has been really good. What on earth do you do? Like, it's the stinking offense that's supposed to actually be good, and you look at the names up and down this lineup. I get we can agree to disagree on how good some of these bats are, but name me 2 players outside of Wilson Contreras and maybe Mason Wynn right now. Not maybe, Mason Wynn too, that are outperforming what we expected. Everyone else, for the most part, is performing below what they should be doing. And this team is an offensive driven team. I don't know what to say anymore. I just don't know what to say. No, Andrew, like what do you do? What do you do with this team right now?
I mean, you just like, what can you do? I mean, is it time to start calling for people's jobs? Because like, you can't fire the players. You can't trade Paul Goldschmidt at this point. You're not going to get anything for him. You can't trade Nolan Arenado because, like, why would you? He's one of the 2 guys that's actually producing offensively right now. Like Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, you committed to them this offseason by not trading them for pitching. There were guys out there, there were teams out there that were willing to give up promising young pitchers in exchange for Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, Nolan Gorman. Name your young Cardinals bat, and they said no. They decided to keep on and hold on to them, and they believed in them, and we believed in them, and it's not working. The results aren't there. Pretty much everybody has underperformed what we've expected, and it's a disaster. Because honestly, I know we've said that like we would rather that the offense be struggling like this than the pitching. The pitching is fixable. The pitching would have been fixable, right? Like, you sign Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson to 1-year deals. You can DFA those guys very easily. You can go out. The Marlins are already starting to sell off pieces. Like, you can go out. Jesus Luzardo is supposed to go off on a rehab assignment soon. I'm sure if you gave them the right package right now and your offense was producing and your pitching needed help and you were in this spot, you were 4 games under 500, you could probably go out and you trade some good pieces for Jesus Luzardo, who's going to come back in a couple of weeks. And your rotation could be fixed. Like, I don't know what to do with the offense because it's not really fixable at this point. You have to,
Yeah.
like, if it continues, you have to go into this offseason and look to revamp that. But then also, again, you have the same issue of your pitching is all going to go away because Lynn and Gibson are expiring. So you have to fix the pitching and fix the hitting this offseason, and it just doesn't seem like something that you can really do. So it's just probably the worst way we could have started this season.
Yeah, I guess the part I would maybe disagree a little bit on is like if the pitching was this bad right now, I don't think that's fixable either because adding 1 arm doesn't fix an entire rotation and bullpen being bad. Like last year's team, they had to kind of cross their fingers and hope things got better with the pitching staff. But you look at the names here. Let's go back to 2023, and then we'll look at the lineup. Go back to 2023. It's the middle of May, and they're preaching patience. But then the guys they're saying be patient with is Miles Michaelis, it's Jack Flaherty, it's Dakota Hudson, it's Adam Wainwright, it's Jake Woodford, it's Chris Stratton, it's all these random like it's like okay, like how much better can it actually get? I don't know. Like that doesn't make sense to me. And you add even if you went out and added a good arm at the deadline or 2, like that wasn't going to fix that rotation. You go and look at this offense, and when they say preach patience, you look at the names and it's Nolan Arenado, it's Paul Goldschmidt, it's Lars Nootbaar, it's Brendan Donovan, it's Nolan Gorman. Like these are names that like if you told me, hey, they're struggling, if like only one of these guys or two of these guys are struggling right now, I don't think either of us would be panicking. We'd be like, their talent is good, they'll figure it out. But all of them, like you can't, like it doesn't even matter if there's a rental bat available. Adding one bat to this lineup doesn't fix it. They have to just be better as an entire team. Wilson Contreras is the only really good hitter on this team. Nolan Arenado's OPS is better, but the power again is it's just not there up until like the past week. Mason Wynn's been really good, but now he has a sub 700 OPS. Literally, it's 937 OPS from Wilson Contreras, 747 from Nolan Arenado, and then everyone else is sub 700. It's so bad. A league average hitter is like a 720 OPS. So again, are you like? I know we did this exercise recently. Like, is Brendan Donovan below league average hitter? No. Is Lars Nootbaar? No. Is Paul Goldschmidt? No. Is Nolan Arenado? No. Is Ivan Herrera? No. Like, but is Lars Nootbaar? No. But at the same time, they are performing like this, and you can't change that. And so, to me, I mean, we talked a little bit about what changes you can make right now. I get some people are already saying like this team just doesn't have what it takes. It's going to lose. Might as well blow it up. You're not going to blow it up in May. That doesn't make sense. Like, no one's really going to trade. Like, who's going to trade for Paul Goldschmidt right now? Nobody. Who's going to trade for Nolan Arenado? Nobody. If they're going to give you anything, they're going to make you eat the contract and not give you anything back. It doesn't make any sense to blow it up right now. So that's where when people say that, I'm like, sure, if it's like this come July, yeah, you obviously blow it up. The only thing I think you could do right now, and Andrew, feel free to give a take that's different than this. Only thing I think you could do is for sure to fire Turner Ward. Maybe fire Brandon Allen as well, the assistant hitting coach. I'm an Ollie fan. Like, I want to say I'm not like a fan, but I just don't think like in general this stuff is really his fault. But at some point, like you just gotta change things. So like maybe you fire Ollie Marmol too. If they did that, I'm not gonna be like that was a bad move. Like it's like okay, like. And honestly, it might not even be Turner Ward's fault, but at the same time, like you got to change something. And if we don't think hitting coaches matter, then why does it matter if they fire him? And if we do think hitting coaches matter, then you obviously should fire him because it's been awful. Like at some point, you can't keep living at the same results. Again, last year, I think they were kind of stuck. You can't really fix that pitching staff overnight, and they did like. We kind of talked about this recently over the offseason. They actually kind of fixed the pitching staff, right? Like you look at the bad pitchers in their rotation in their bullpen and of guys that are post arbitration, it's Giovanni Gallegos and it's Miles Michaelis and Steven Matz, guys that they signed a while ago. You look at the guys they brought in: Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, Andrew Kittredge, Sonny Gray, Jojo Romero 2 deadlines ago. You look at AAA, Sam Robertsa, like all the arms they've really brought in recently, Nick Robertson, Ryan Fernandez, like they have been doing their part. It's the kind of the leftover arms that have kind of messing things up, but it took a whole offseason and a trade deadline to revamp that lineup. It's such a systematic issue right now that you can't change the players. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to option Donovan and Wynn and Nootbaar and Gorman and call up to JC Baker, Moises Gomez. Like, no, you're not going to do that. And you're obviously like selling the pieces doesn't make sense right now. I don't really think there's a trade to go out there and get someone right now. Like, name that player. Luis Ariz would have maybe, but like he wasn't playing well either. Like, I don't know what you do. I think you just at this point you have to make some changes. It doesn't make sense not to fire Turner Ward. That seems clear to me. Brandon Allen, if you got to do Ollie Marmol, go for it. Whoever they deem as a part of the problem, and even if they don't think they're part of the problem, just whoever they think could shake up this locker room, because maybe that's all it needs. Maybe they just need to see heads roll and then these guys start hitting. Maybe not. I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I feel like someone has to be fired after this. The White Sox before this series had won one game on the road, and now they've won 3. So it's just not good, right? Like this team, this is like a completely losing franchise. It was a complete mess. The culture was just horrible last year, and they sold off a bunch of pieces, a lot of injuries. You can't. I mean, I said it last week that like you have to sweep this team, and they lost 2 out of 3. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even think a sweep was necessary. Like, I mean, obviously, right. Like sweep would have been good, and like that's what I would have wanted. But like, even if they just won 2 or 3, I don't think we're freaking out. Or if the offense, like, even if not if they lost 2, but even if they lost 2 or 3 and the offense looked better, I'd be like, okay, they're on the right track.
I mean,
but it's just the lifelessness right now.
3 winnable games. The first game you won, whatever. Sonny Gray, he's great, no complaints. Second game, what was it? Bases loaded with nobody out. Lars Nootbaar, Mason Wynn put up 2 of the least competitive at bats against John Brebbia, who has not been good this year. And they both strike out, and like, whatever. I don't know. It just, the situational hitting needs to be better. You could give me Taylor Motter and Taylor Motter back to back, and I would feel like 50% of the time he drives in at least 1 run, right? Like, it's not, it's just, these are guys that you're relying on to be good. And you're not even asking them to get hits. Like 2 sack flies would have won you the game.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't understand the pulled fly ball situation. We can discuss later, but it seems like the hitting philosophy is just completely different. And like, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to hold the players accountable, but when it comes to making changes, you can't really do that right now. Like, the players are locked in. You can't send these guys down. You already sent Jordan Walker down, which, I mean, you were relying on him to be a huge component of this lineup, and like, that's kind of all you can really do at this point. It's really bad.
Can I? I'm gonna respond to a few comments in our live chat again. If you're in, we appreciate the comments. We try to, even if we don't acknowledge them, we try to read it to kind of inform our conversation, but we like to highlight them as well. I've seen a couple comments coming in here. Fire Mo, fire Mo, fire Mo. Okay, you could do that, but like, I'm what are we talking about? Here's the problem. It's the offense, and I don't know. Like, the pitching last year was clearly the front office's fault. Tell me what they should have done different this offense, because not now, Andrew, not now. I'm calling for people to be fired. I'm just saying I don't see how this one's John. Like, last year was the front office's fault. It was, and if they had cleaned house, it would have made sense. The lineup not performing this badly, I don't think is their fault. It's the players and the coaches at this point. Now, I do see some comments in here also saying, like, be patient. They're playing bad. There's 110 games left. Yes and no. I'm the one who preaches patience all the time. And yes, there's 110 games left. I totally agree. They to wave the white flag and say the season over is way too soon. They are they're, what are they, 4 games, 5 games under 500. They're like 6 games out of first place in beginning of May in the NL Central, which I know has looked good. So I'm sorry. I just don't believe in the Milwaukee Brewers. You have plenty of time to come back. But with how bad and lifeless this offense looks, you got to get rid of the batting, or I read the batting coach in here, the hitting coach. I get he hired these guys, but okay, if John Mozeliak went out and hired the best hitting coach in baseball and they'd been this bad, would you blame John Mozeliak for that? No. Like, I mean, at some point, that's their job to do that. I get that things have gone poorly, but if you want to look at the Mozeliak side of things, I would say go look at the offseason moves. And besides the random ones that myself and other people were like, obviously the Brandon Crawford and Matt Carpenter signings aren't going to make a difference, but the ones that were supposed to, Kittredge, Lynn, Gibson, Sonny Gray, like, almost all of their offseason moves have worked out so far. It's the freaking offense that, I'm sorry, I know some people said that the offense wasn't good enough and needed to be improved, but come on. No one thought this was a bottom 5 unit in baseball. This was arguably, I mean, it was before the trade deadline last year. It was a top 10 unit in all of baseball. It's number 7, probably in that range in almost every single major statistical category. They have all the talent in the world to be at least a league average offense. I mean, come on. Like, this is just bad. I don't know what, like, that's, if this continues to go on at some point, just like you have to maybe get rid of the bat hitting coach because you just got to change something. At some point, you might just have to get rid of Mo too, because you got to change something. And that's coming down the pipe regardless. I don't think the offense struggling the first month of the year is a John Mozeliak issue. There's a lot of other things that can be a John Mozeliak issue, but Lars Nootbaar, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Nolan Gorman, Brendan Top, all these guys not hitting, that's on them and potentially on a hitting coach. Andrew, do you disagree at all?
No, I feel like you could have built this roster like 1,000 different ways, and all those guys would be on the team, right? We were talking this offseason, and nobody was like, "Oh, Lars Nootbaar's terrible." Paul Goldschmidt's, well, I don't know.
You had random people, but
Well,
like,
yeah.
but, and even like when people are saying terrible, it's like, okay, are you really going to tell me that Lars Nootbaar is a 120 batting average hitter, or that Paul Goldschmidt's a sub 500 OPS guy? Like, no one thought that. And if they are, they're just being like, they're like exaggerating it, just trying to make a point. Sorry.
One thing I do want to point out, though, is that you brought in Matt Carpenter and Brandon Crawford to be these like veteran leaders, because somehow Goldie and Arenado, they couldn't like wrangle the young guys in the clubhouse who are a lot of the ones who are struggling right now. What are they doing? Like, I don't. Aren't they supposed to be helping the young guys like be better? And like, if that's not working and they're not hitting, can we please DFA both of them and then give those roster spots to other players that will actually maybe have some upside in the future? Like,
Yeah.
those two guys aren't doing anything. Like, clearly.
Yeah, I think that actually is a really good example of two moves that could potentially be like, hey, that's incriminating of either Ollie or John Mozeliak is if they keep Brandon Crawford on the roster here soon when they get a little bit healthier. Like they sent down Pedro Bajes, which I thinks makes a lot of sense. Ivan
Yes.
Herrera and Wilson Contreras, even if they both start on a day, they can one of them can move to catcher if the other one gets hurt. Like it'll be fine. They'll figure it out. If they call up, like if when they activate Matt Carpenter, if they send down Jose Fermin
Can they just
or they
not
send
activate him? Like
but I'm saying
actually just
like if they end up with both Matt Carpenter and Brandon Crawford on the bench right now with how bad the offense is, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. Jose Fermin, I mean, it's been small sample sizes, but at this point, I mean, why would you roll with Brandon Crawford? I get that they're buddies with Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, but at some point you got to shake up this clubhouse. And something that you could send a message to the players is, hey, we wanted your friends to be in here to help you out, but guess what? You're not playing good enough. So we're going to move them out. We're going to get a young guy in here to produce. And if they don't like it, then that's their fault. Like that's not, so I think that is a really good example of a potential move that they need to make here soon. But I don't think it's like, anyway, I don't think in the offseason it was a bad thing because if the offense was performing like it should be, neither of those guys would really be playing at all and it wouldn't matter.
Well, it's like, how much more upside does someone like Luke and Baker have than Brandon Crawford? Jose Fermin can cover shortstop position if you need him to, and like, if you like, your bench is already very thin with guys you can pinch hit because like the lineup probably will need some pinch hitters. You might have to play some matchups. How much more upside would someone like Luke and Baker have than Brandon Crawford? Like already, right? Like I just don't understand why these guys are still on the roster. I don't know. That's a minor issue, but like at some point there needs to be change, right? And if you DFA the like clubhouse favorite, like veteran leader guy that you brought in that everyone loves, that might be equally like as good of a message as firing Turner Ward, right? Like, I don't know, just do anything that you can at this point to get this back on track because you lost 2 out of 3 to maybe the worst team in baseball, one of the worst teams I've ever seen. And it's just like, we need to do better than that.
Yeah. I also think one of the things that is worth looking at here too is that if we really believe this team, like a lot of people said, I was a little more optimistic on the high 80s, the low 90s potentially. And also some of this is baked in that like, hey, they're competitive at the trade deadline. And so they go out and make more upgrades too. It's like not that this roster can get to 89, 90 wins, but like a continue upgrade of this roster that they do at deadlines when they're in it. But if we're really like, if people really thought this is an 82 to 84 win team, maybe even probably more in that range, this is about what you expect from a team like that. Not the offense being this bad, but the record wise, like you're going to have stretches where you're a few games below 500, stretches where you're a few games above 500. You're not going to get 10 games above 500 at any point. You're not really going to go 10 games below 500 unless you go on a run at the end of the year. Like this is about what we look at a 80 to 84 win team. And so I think there are some people that are like looking at this as like this is another 70 win team, 65 win team, like it's going to be blown up again. Unless the pitching just craters, which I mean, again, for as good as it's been so far, like that's the thing I continue to be worried about is that the pitching craters because imagine if this pitching staff just falls off. This team is totally capable of going on like a 10, 15 game losing streak right now with this offense. So that's the part of the team I continue to be nervous about because if Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson can't keep it up, if Sonny Gray doesn't need to be a sub 1 ERA guy the whole year, but if you can't be like a 2.8 below, like that's going to be a problem. This bullpen gets overused, stuff like that. So, but my main point of that is we're not looking at a team that's far worse than we thought it could be record wise right now, at least. I mean, this is again, I would rather it be at 500, a few games above 500. I'm not defending that at all. I'm just saying like this isn't a. I don't know if were people thinking this was a 95 to 100 win team. I don't remember anyone really saying that. Besides the most optimistic fans of the world. Again, I'm not defending it at all. I'm just saying this is kind of what this kind of team looks like, and we're not used to it in St. Louis. But I still think
The
there's time to turn it
frustrating
around.
part is that this team should be a 90 to 95 win team the way the pitching has been looking. Like, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be. Like
Maybe not 90, 95.
if the hitting was like
Sure.
league average, we would be in first place. Like no question. There's so many games that we have lost.
Close.
Like
If this was a top 10 unit right now, I think they'd be, yeah, I think you're right. They'd be pushing for 90. But if they're league average, I think they're probably more in that, like truly in that 84, 85 win, 86 win range. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
they're like on pace for that. Like the pitching, I don't think will be this good the entire year, but also like, I don't know, whatever.
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is that they kind of kicked the can down the road today with that fifth rotation spot. But I mean, if Steven Matz is a bulging disc, I kind of doubt he's going to be back in the next 15 days. And it's not like he's pitched well enough to really be back in the next 15 days. So what do you do with that fifth rotation spot too? I think that could become a concern because that's one of the issues we saw with this team in 2020, 2021, and 2022, where they were throwing out Andre Palante, Johan Oviedo. They were throwing out all these random guys to fill that fifth rotation spot because they didn't have a guy, which is what caused them to go out and get all these veteran arms that ended up underperforming because they have to fill out the rotation somehow. That, again, is a mosaic problem from a pitching development side of things. And it looks like it's going to be maybe not solved, but it'll be better here soon in the next year or two when you have a Tink Hence. Maybe Sam Roberts becomes one of those, Cooper Jerpy, Takeo Roby, Quinn Matthews, like all these names are going to start helping with that, but they're not ready yet. So what do you do right now? Do you call up Sem? I mean, he's been AAA maybe 6 now, and last year was not good, and he was aggressively promoted. I mean, maybe he gives you some short spurts. I mean, do you call Kaufenstein? That's not necessarily going to make anyone really excited. Graceffo has been pretty good, but like, is he truly ready for that? I mean, my guess is it's probably going to be Zach Thompson or actually based on how Ollie talked about it today, probably not him. I think it's probably going to be Andre Palante. He gets called up to be in that spot, which honestly, I probably agree with at this point. I don't think Sem should be the guy. I think you're kind of rushing him, give him some more time. Kaufenstein or not Kaufenstein. Palante is a guy that I think he kind of gets bit a little bit by coming in with a runner on. It has to induce a ground ball. If you give him his own innings to work with, I think you can get a little bit better results out of that. I'm not going to try and convince you he's a good starter, but like patchwork fifth starter for now, I think you try it. Like, but these are the holes that I think are becoming an issue. And it's like, if this offense doesn't get it going soon, I think we're going to see the rotation at some point here start to falter a little bit, potentially, at least at that fifth spot. Bullpen again, like you can't keep using Helsley, JoJo, and Kittredge every game. If Middleton comes back soon, that helps some, but Gio's been terrible, so like you lost that guy. I mean, guess Fernandez and Robertson step up into better situations. I don't even know what you do. So, I mean, maybe call up Thomas to JZ. I don't even know. I have no idea what you do. I don't know what you do. Are you concerned about this fifth rotation spot?
I mean, yeah, I'm concerned about this whole team right now. Steven Matz was not good to start the year. And again, I advocated very strongly at the start of the year because Steven Matz has had injury issues. No matter what his upside is, start him at the season in the bullpen. Someone else probably bound to get hurt. Like he probably would have started the season in the rotation had we got a sixth starter anyway, because Sonny Gray was on the IL to open the season. And like, I don't know. There were so many options that we could have gone out and gotten, but now we're kind of stuck in the same situation of, oh, we need to try a homegrown solution, try Zach Thompson, try Palante, try Robersa, who, by the way, I'm like pretty against calling up because pretty much every pitcher, hitter, whoever you want that we've tried to call up, and fans are like, we should call them up. They've had one good month in AAA.
Yeah.
They always come up and immediately disappoint us. And not everybody is Albert Pujols. Not everyone can skip AA and become an MVP candidate immediately. That's just not how development works. Like we see that very often with other teams, but like, it's just not how development works. The major leagues are a lot harder than the AAA. Like it's just a different playing level. And Jackson Holiday, for example, someone in our chat brings up, is a prime example of that. And a lot of people, I feel like, didn't really realize that until they saw Jackson Holiday bat like 065.
Yeah.
And I feel like now we're starting to realize maybe that the minor leagues exist for a reason. You need to spend more time developing. And just because Sam Robersa had one good month in AAA doesn't mean that he's major league ready and he's going to be like a third starter right away. Like it's just not going to happen. Maybe you go out and you sign Rich Hill at this point, right?
Oh my gosh,
I don't know. Or Zach Greinke or whoever. Like at this point, I wouldn't be shocked. It's probably better than what Zach Thompson has shown so far, right? Like I don't know. Like is that where we're headed right now? I won't be excited for that. I already said I'm not going to the games unless this team is over 500 or there's a two-way player at the stadium because
Oh
he's
man.
coming in August and I want to go to those games. But
A
anyway,
couple things. So if you're watching right now, thanks. I mean, this has been a great turnout so far. We really appreciate it. If you could like the stream, it's helpful. If this is your first time, subscribe as well. We do 2 episodes a week on Sundays and Wednesdays. We're still going, just giving a couple plugs here. In the chat right now, seriously, like throw your two things we really want to know your opinions on. One, throw your opinions out there about who that fifth starter should be right now. Again, I signed with Andrew here of that we call up guys too quickly, and I'm going to side with the people who watch them on a day-to-day basis and not the guys that just look at the box scores and say, hey, it's a 1 ERA, call them up, because we've seen that with Matthew Liberatore. Like on the pitching side, it's been super infrequently recently because they just haven't had a lot of guys actually perform at AAA. But I mean, on the hitting side of things, we've seen like I was guilty of the Jordan Walker thing, but last spring training, everyone was like, there's no way you can leave Jordan Walker off this roster. It'll be terrible. Struggles the first month. The Cardinals were like, well, I mean, they're the ones who called him up, so they only have themselves to blame. But like clearly, like he wasn't fully ready yet. Played well at the end of the year after he came up in June. Then again, it struggled again this year. I mean, we've seen this with Mason Wynn to start the year, and then people gave up on him when they got called up in September. We've seen it with Nolan Gorman when he got called up 2 years ago and he struggled. Like people just get really mad about it. So like on that side, do you think Thomas Ajayci should be called up? Because I love him and I think he's going to be awesome, but is now the time? Is it worth trying to spark the offense and potentially hurt his development? I don't know. So JC and then the fifth starter, like let us know what you think in the comments with that. I kind of do think right now that you go either Thompson or Palante, and you just have to. And that's the situation they found themselves in. I really don't know what you do otherwise. I mean, you could go out and sign a fifth starter like Rich Hill, or I don't know. Don't do what you're about to do, Andrew. Don't do it. It's
no,
like,
I'm not.
or I don't know who else. Like you could just, yeah. So I don't know what you do at the fifth starter spot right now. We'll see. And then the bullpen, like I know you've been kind of on the DFA Giovanni Gallegos track, and
I mean,
I
he
mean
looks
maybe,
unplayable. Like I
yeah,
don't understand. He looks. I mean, to be fair, Jordan Hicks looked unplayable last year, but also Giovanni Gallegos doesn't throw the ball 101 miles an hour. So,
yep, two very good points.
like,
So
I don't know. I've been frustrated with Gio since last year. Just I feel like you can't have a higher leverage reliever, and he's not that anymore. He's relegated to like below John King at this point,
yeah,
right? Even John King looked better today. But you just can't like you can maybe afford to have a reliever or two in the back of your bullpen that you're not going to use in high leverage that will go out there and maybe strike out the side or maybe give up 4 runs, but you can't have that be your high leverage guy, right?
yeah.
Like at this point, give Burleson the ball. Like it's
Oh
over.
gosh. A couple of things coming through here on here. First, comment that came through saying fifth starters, like why does that really matter? The offense he's hit that came from Cleveland. I totally agree. Like the problem is the offense. So like it's not the fifth starter role right now, but the problem is that if this fifth starter role becomes an issue, then this team is not going to just be a couple games under 500. It's going to implode. So that's why I'm like, we can talk until we're blue in the face about this offense, but the reality of it is, short story, they just need to hit. Like they just have to. And you could fire some people, but like at the end, even if you fire people, it doesn't mean they don't just have to start hitting. They do. They have to figure it out. They have to hit. I don't know what else to tell you. But the fifth starter side of things, it's like, hey, if they can't get like if they have these blow up starts every fifth day now, that kills the bullpen, puts even more pressure on the offense. It's not going to go well. Noah Hester put in there, is there something wrong about developing pitchers? I mean, that is like for sure an issue. Um, I don't know what like the Jordan Hicks side of it just continues to show the issue, but it's not like the prime evidence or the only evidence of the issue. I mean, you just look at how they treated Sandy Alcantara when he was here. You just continue to see pitchers. Jack Flaherty's gotten better elsewhere, even though that was probably for the best that he goes elsewhere. You could just throw all these names in the
I don't
towel,
even
guys.
want to say that Jack Flaherty got better because look at this offense. Like anybody, like Eric Fetty looked unstoppable yesterday until we had a good inning for once. Garrett
Yeah, he's had
Crochet's
a
been
mixed bag,
terrible
which
this
is very
season.
Jack Flaherty like.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Jack Flaherty
he
is
wasn't a good
the same
example.
guy, right?
Yeah.
So
So anyways, and again, someone else just put in here, I think you'd be stupid to make major moves right now. I think
but
that's
yeah,
mostly true. Like, I don't think firing a hitting coach is a major move, but yeah, like for the people like you just trade everyone right now, I think that would just make no sense because none of them have value. No one's going to trade for them. Doesn't really make sense, and you're giving up way too early. You can go out and sign someone, and that's not. I mean, signing Rich Hill isn't a major move. So like, I totally agree that it's too early to make a panic fire of like John Mozeliak. I mean, because and they're just not going to do that. I don't even know why we talk about it because it's not going to happen. Like if
It's
it
not
happens
gonna
at the end of the year, if they struggle this year, I think it
Do
happens.
GMs just
I think
get,
they fire him.
like, canned in the middle of the season? I don't think I can't remember one,
Ki-
like, a single time.
Kinda like I mean, like Hein Bloom got removed in September, but like that
Yeah, well,
stuff
yeah.
doesn't happen super frequently. It's usually the end of the year. And Mosaic, they're not going to fire him. It would be one of those mutual things where he agrees to step into a different role for the last year of his contract. That's not going to happen, but I think they would. I think he would be gone if the season goes poorly. Another thing to throw in the chat, if you want us to talk soon, I know we asked in a recent episode too, but if you guys think we should talk more about what this rest of this year in 2025 will look like if they have to blow it up. I talked about Brendan Schaefer on his podcast on B Schaefer Daily. It's on YouTube. You can go check that out. It's one with the Hein Bloom in the thumbnail. We talked about it for a while. We'll talk about it more soon too. But if you think like we should talk more about what it would look like to blow it up. Myself, Andrew, and Sandy can talk about that soon. But again, I don't think you move on from like it just doesn't really make sense to move on from Mo right now. I think Ollie's probably the biggest move you can make right now. Which Andrew, I want to go there real quick before we finish up, like because I know people are saying it. I'm at a point now too where I'm like, if they fire Ollie, I don't think it's a mistake. I don't necessarily think it's the move, but I don't think it makes sense yet. I just don't. I think that you go Turner Ward route first. If they were to fire Ollie, what do you do? Do you promote Danny DeSalsco? Do Stubby Clapp? Do you go and
Just go get Skip
see if the
Schumacher. I
Marlins
don't think he wants to be
see if
there
the
anymore.
Marlins let him out? Like, I don't think that would happen. But like, do you go get Yachty? Do you go get Pujols? Do you go
Well,
get
Pujols
Terry
can't.
Francona to see if he'll
You can't
jump
get
in
Pujols.
midseason? I think he can because it's a baseball role. I don't think it's like I think his contract side of things was more about like, hey, you're gonna hang out with our club and do things with it, but they're not gonna stop him from like that would probably strain the relationship between him and the Angels that they stopped him from getting a coaching job, which is something he's talked about wanting. Bob Nightingale reported that. I mean, what do you do? I've got some opinions, but Andrew, if you have to can Ollie right now, who do you go after?
I don't know, like, am I being a homer if I say like Stubby Clapp or somebody who like has real managerial experience, right? I don't think Descalso has managed at any level um, of the game so far. So go out and get someone like that. Honestly, bring in an external voice. Bring in someone who can like shake it up. I feel like that's the way that we have to do it at this point because
Yeah,
clearly the Cardinal way is not working anymore, right? We saw it last year. It's just seems to be something that the rest of the league has blown past, and I
yeah.
don't know. I think firing Ollie, in my opinion, won't do anything if you bring in someone else from the organization, right?
What
I
do you
don't
mean
think
by in like, do you mean someone else from the organization as in like if you just promoted someone or if you brought in Skip, Yachty, like Matt Holiday, guys who have been like
like
outside the
someone
organization for a
someone
little bit?
within the organization right now. I feel like bringing in
Agreed.
Yachty
Agreed.
would be a different thing, right? Because I feel like he wouldn't
Agreed.
like he's kind of the common denominator from the past like decade of so of success, right? I feel like that's the guy that you kind
Yeah.
of want to bring in if you think that it's gonna like not work out because he's the one who like when he left, this team kind of fell apart. And I don't know, it seems just that he doesn't want to be here right now, which is a little bit unfortunate. And it just seems like he's not ready to step into that role. But if he's willing to do it and he's willing to commit to this team, I'm fully ready to have him on at this point because
Okay.
like Ollie hasn't done anything like egregious. Like it doesn't sound like he's lost the clubhouse. It doesn't sound like I can't point to like, oh, he keeps putting in Giovanni Gallegos in high leverage situations because he doesn't.
Yeah.
Like Gallegos pitched today because they kind of
And you
needed
had
it.
to. Yeah, you kind of had to. Who
Right.
else are you turning to?
And the other day against the Mets, because again, he kind of needed to. That's on
Yep.
the offense. I blame
Yep.
the offense for that because they're the ones who are not scoring enough runs and they need Helsley
Yep.
and Kittredge and Romero to come into every game. It's not Ollie's fault that he has to use Gallegos. Gallegos is on the roster. Hopefully he won't be tomorrow, but for right now, he's on the roster.
Yeah. I like to your point, like something I've really liked about how Ollie has managed the bullpen this year is that he has not tried to get cute with it usually. Like when they have a lead, he pretty much always goes to their top arms. It's kind of what Mike Schilt did for a while. And I think Schilt overdid it, which was part of the problem here in St. Louis. Like I think we really overinflate how good Mike Schilt was at times. And look what's happening with San Diego right now. And look how much he's just in the headlines all the time for saying really weird stuff in the media. It's like I'll let them figure that one out. But they pretty much go to Kittredge, JoJo, and Helsley every time they need to win the game. So like I've liked that. Now, if you were to get rid of him, which again, to your point, I don't think he's necessarily the problem, but at some point maybe you just need to shake it up. Let's see. I'm going to go through a couple of names that I just don't think would happen at this point in time because I just don't see how it could. Pujols, I just don't think that would happen. Terry Francona, I would love Terry Francona, but I don't think in the middle of May when your team is doing this bad, he's going to jump into the situation. I think if you wanted Terry Francona, you kind of you either roll with Ollie the rest of the year or you promote someone as an interim manager or you bring in a 1-year solution and then you go after Terry Francona in the offseason. I could be wrong. If he's willing to come, that'd be a great option. I just don't see him doing it right now. Here's the ones I think become more realistic, other than promoting someone from within, which I think would be the wrong call. I think Matt Holliday would be interesting. Here's where I think there's a couple weird spots. I don't see him jumping in on a whim because we already saw that he had that the family side of things, which is totally like I respect that, man. If you think it's just a strain in your family, it sucks that he committed to it and uncommitted. That part's annoying, but like at least he didn't do it in the season, you know? So gave him some time. They went after Joe McEwing. It didn't work. They got Danny Scalzo. I do think I'd be interested to see how that works. I just don't think he would do it in the middle of May or the beginning of May. And he's also friends with Ollie. Like they're actual friends, not like friends, but like actual friends. So that could be a little weird, but I don't think it'd stop him from being the Cardinals manager. I just think at this moment in time, it might be a little weird. I actually think I've never been anti Yadier Molina as a manager, but lately I've been kind of like this could be a dumpster fire. Why not now then? Why not now? Like if you're gonna make the move, because here's what happens: you roll with him for the rest of the year.
I mean, it
He
can't get
goes
any
from
worse
special.
than this.
So exactly, you roll from him as special advisor down to the manager. Again, I'm not saying they should do this right now, but if they're gonna make the move, you move him down. You talk about a guy who's gonna fire up that clubhouse, who's not gonna like take crap. And if it goes poorly, he was just the interim manager. He was just filling in, and you go after a long-term solution in the offseason. Would that potentially hurt your relationship with Yachty? Sure. But like that's been my biggest concern with Yachty as the manager is that almost all manager club relationships end very poorly, right? You either fire or get retired. And Yachty's a long ways away from retiring as a manager. So it's pretty likely he would end up getting fired at some point. You can roll with him as the interim manager for the rest of the year. If it doesn't work out, you part ways. You go to Terry Francona. You go to whoever the other guy is, Pujols, Matt Holliday, whoever that guy is. But if there is a time to throw him into the fire right now, even when I don't trust him, it would be now, I think. And I
When
get
is
that
the
some people.
Puerto Rico basketball playoffs?
Oh my gosh. See, I do think I know, like, I agree. That was so bad. I do think though that if he's manager, I think he knows that's a difference. And I think part of the reason he hasn't shown up is because he's not the manager, right? Like he's not he's not going to be fully invested in helping train up just the catchers. Like that's not what he wants to do. He wants to be a manager. So I think if you give him that role, he could try it out and go for it. Again, I don't think necessarily firing Ollie's the move. And I definitely am not going to try and act like Bernie and Yachty's going to change everything. But I do think that would be really interesting if there's ever a time to go for it. Honestly, why not now if you had fired Ollie midseason? So again, if you're watching, subscribe. It helps out a ton. Like the stream as we're going through helps the video get out there. Throw some of your thoughts in the chat as well. I'm seeing some stuff about former Cardinal outfielders performing elsewhere. I get it. That's a thing. It's been a thing. I don't really know what to do.
Here's the thing, though. I'll say this right now, right? Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, Carlson, Walker, whoever, once they leave this team, if you trade them right now, they're going to go off somewhere else. They have all the talent in the world to go do that. So it's just going to be worse. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't. You have to roll.
And like, with all those guys, even I mean, Carlson's literally played a single game. So if there is one person we for sure can be like, okay, calm down. It's one game from Dylan Carlson, even though the sample size isn't there. But like Lars Nootbaar, we have seen him be much better than this. Jordan Walker, we have seen him be much better than this. Nolan Gorman, we have seen them be much better than this. Same with Brendan Donovan. So there's literally no point getting rid of those guys. And I know people are saying the Goldschmidt are not a thing. Tell me what on earth you get for Paul Goldschmidt right now. Nothing. Like it's nothing. And Nolan Arenado, you're gonna have to eat like a bunch of that contract to get rid of him right now. It doesn't make sense to you in May. It just doesn't. So I
mean, Carlson went 0 for 3 today. What are you gonna do? Like that was like all of Paul Goldschmidt's games last month. So
yeah.
whatever.
So, and at the end of the day, I mean, if we really want to pin it on something in the offense, like until the big bats get going, until Arenado and Goldschmidt figure it out, or like until Lars Nootbaar plays like the bat he could be, until Brendan Donovan gets back to how he was the first couple weeks of the season, until Jordan Walker's up here doing what he's doing, until Nolan Gorman does what he knows he can do, like until a couple of those bats get it going, who cares what Dylan Carlson does? Because he's supposed to be like the 8th or 9th hitter when he plays. He shouldn't be batting 5th like that. The reason he did that
fair, there was a lefty on the mound, so I understand that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't criticizing him batting 5th, but like Dylan, like it's like when someone earlier was saying, "Hey, the 5th starter, like the offense is the issue." Yeah, true, but like the offensive issue isn't center field. Like it would help. Like I do agree, getting better production from center field from a negative WRC plus from Victor Scott or like a 400 OPS to like a 600, 700. That's actually a pretty decent improvement. So it would help the offense. But this offense is not going to get back to where it needs to be until the middle lineup gets going. It just won't. And so that's the core of it. But there's a lot. I mean, it's multifaceted. That's how crazy bad this offense is that you look up and down. It's not just the middle of the order. It's not just the bottom of the order. It's not just the bench. It's everyone. So I don't know. I think we're kind of beating the horse dead at this point. If there's anything you guys think we haven't covered in the chat, let it in now. Andrew, any last things you're thinking, hey, we need to cover this real quick?
Yeah, I want to talk about the pulled fly ball rate.
Oh yeah,
Jim Edmonds brought up the other day on the broadcast. Which, by the way, can we get Jim Edmonds off the broadcast, please? Like, if we're gonna fire the hitting coach, yeah, like that would be perfect. Like, please. He made some weird comments last night that I don't want to repeat.
Dude, in the ninth, I think it was in the bottom of the 8th or bottom of the 9th, he pulled out another one of those. I just got a text and I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, no.
He can't help himself. Oh my gosh.
Anyway. No, we're not getting Jim Edmonds on the show, by the way. We had a meme that was like, oh, we just got a text. We were just messing. We're just making fun of Jim Edmonds. But anyway, he was noting that the Cardinals have, I think, the second lowest batting average on hard hit balls. And that's because our pulled fly ball rate, which is for slugging the best outcome that you can have, it's the lowest in baseball right now, I believe. I don't know. I haven't checked it since like a couple days ago, but I would imagine it's very similar. Goldie's 2 home runs, I think one of them was not pulled. Arenado yesterday had one that was like barely pulled. And it's like Arenado was one of the best hitters in the entire league because his pulled fly ball rate was extremely high. And like they were shifting him and he was trying to go the other way a little bit more. But like, why would you fix something with a future Hall of Fame third baseman? Yeah. Like, why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. He finished 3rd in MVP voting in 2022. He didn't have a single pulled fly ball home or a single opposite field home run the entire year. Why are we messing with that? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Lars Nootbaar is beating the ball into the ground. He has, I think, the second highest hard hit rate in the entire league behind like Juan Soto. So I like, if we can elevate the ball like we were last year, a lot of those are going to land. Like, I just don't get it. It's frustrating. And I feel like that's kind of the reason I'm advocating for a change in hitting coach. Because maybe like Goldie was talking to Jim Edmonds and he was saying that like he just didn't know what was wrong. And you know who's supposed to help with that is the hitting coach. So if you can find anyone to tell these guys what's wrong, fix their mechanics, I don't know, man.
Yeah. A couple of things in the chat right now I think are worth kind of jumping on a little bit here. One, someone brought up a really good point, M Guild Design. All these guys, especially young guys, can't be bums. Why do you think Oakland wanted Nootbaar when other teams wanted Gorman, right? Like, The Cardinals were offering, which is, I mean, could have looked bad. They were offering Gorman and Dylan Carlson and someone else, I think, for Sean Murphy. And the Oakland wanted Nootbaar and Donovan instead. Like other teams have wanted these guys. Like it's not like, so these guys are good. Anyways, that's beside the point. If you look at, so this comes from Jack for Rams on Twitter. I don't know what time in the game he posted this, but he counted 9 fly balls in the game up to this point. I think he was in the 7th or 8th inning. None of them were pulled. Not a single one. They're all to center field. Like if they're a right-handed hitter, it was to center field or to right field. And if it was a left-handed hitter, it's to center field or left field. Enosaurus of The Athletic. If you're talking about, if you want to just read good baseball stuff about all of the league and listening to, also someone said like, yeah, we both agree Turner Ward should be fired. So I think we've been pretty clear on that.
Yeah.
Cyrus, and a lot of people reading about this, but again, I think he put out a really good article recently talking about this, that pulled fly balls are the best outcome in baseball. Without a doubt, it has the highest slugging percentage, highest OPS expected. A pulled fly ball is the best thing you could do in all of baseball. The Cardinals used to rank among the best teams in baseball at pulled fly ball rate when Jeff Albert was here. I'm just saying. And ever since he's been gone, they've continued. Yeah, for seriously, people like Sandy are the reason that he's gone. Ever since then, let me see if I can find this tweet from Enosaurus. But anyways, they ranked 30th in baseball this year in pull fly ball rate. They ranked first a few years ago in it. It's not good. Man, I wish I could find this tweet. It'd be really good. I don't know if I'm able to find it from him. But beside the point, they like this pull fly ball issue is a real deal. And and it's part of the reason why I don't disagree with them sending down Jordan Walker and some of these people, because if Jordan Walker is just going to hit hard ground balls the whole time, he's never going to be the hitter we expect him to be. Again, are they teaching him the right things in AAA? I can't tell you that. I don't know. But they did send him down last year. He called him up in June. He was a lot better. So like I could see how it's going to help, because again, it did before. Man, I can't find this from Jeff or about the Jeff Albert stats. But anyways, so the pull fly ball things I think is a real issue. They got to figure that out. But Nolan Gorman looks lost right now. I mean, Nootbaar just isn't. Yeah, sometimes he looks like he's swinging super hard. Like it just looks uncomfortable. Arenado's whatever. Goldschmidt strikes out looking at way more pitches than I ever would have thought, and just can't catch up with the fastball right now. I don't know what you got to do at this point. So well, we'll see. I think we're pretty much running out. Guys, this has been an awesome stream. We really appreciate hopping in. Not awesome in terms of what we have to talk about, but we really appreciate the support for sure. Subscribe, share this podcast with people if you could. It really helps us out a ton. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, Lars is just mad that there aren't any podcasts named after him anymore.
I almost made that joke the other day, and then I didn't do it, so that's true. We're formerly New News if you're catching us at a weird time. But yeah, so we'll be live again on Sunday, maybe before then if we need to do an emergency pod about firing someone or something random.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'll take that.
Yeah, we'd be down to do that.
You know who's not going to get fired? CB Buckner, because he's in a union.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, people are giving me crap saying I was blaming CB Buckner for the game. He was terrible to the White Sox and the Cardinals yesterday. CB is so bad. He is so bad at his job. So hopefully someday MLB. I mean, he's the reason I want a automatic strike zone. Like the CBs and Angel Hernandez's of the world. I'm like, I can't take this anymore. I don't want to watch this. But again, seriously, we appreciate the support. We really do. We'll be having some more guests on soon. We've got a really cool video we're going to be working on here soon that we're really excited to post. So we want you guys to see that too. So if you could subscribe, it helps the channel a ton. Like the stream, it also helps out a ton. Again, if you're really interested in having more baseball talk like this, because we just like to talk Cardinals all the time, have more in-depth conversations that aren't just throwing memes back and forth or trolling each other on Twitter, you can go on the desktop version of our channel, and there's a membership program. It's just $1 to join your Discord. There's people in the chat right now, like Cleveland and other people who have the green names on them, or they have the banners, and they could tell you about our Discord. It's really fun. We have a really good conversation over there. But again, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate the support. Let us know if there's anything you want to talk about coming up soon in the comments. And yeah, hopefully the next time we're talking, there's some major moves that have been made, or maybe not major, but there's some firings that have been made, maybe some roster changes. I don't know. Hopefully we have a new thing to see here. New thing to talk about here soon, other than the offense sucks all the time. Till next time, though, thanks for joining us.